Hello and welcome to a Warframe video. In this video I want to talk about Khora. Now she is the newest Warframe, even though she has been in the game for a while now in both PC and console. But there are a lot of people who are talking about a lot of mixed reviews about her, and I just wanted to share my opinion in case it helps to those who may be curious about whether or not they should go for the grind of Khora. Now, Khora is definitely, first off, she's actually one of a very awesome looking Warframe, and as far as loadouts, I usually use more accurate weapons for her, depending on the situation. She already comes with an inborn whip that she can use, so I usually gave her, some claws, which of course makes sense in my eyes. But of course you can also go with, whatever you wanted. She has a Kavat that she comes with, which is actually very interesting because you can actually. Now, obviously, you would go with the Kavat and Kavat or Kavat and Kubro combo, but I have found that having the Kavat for all of its utility properties and a Sentinel is also a very good functionality. You have all of the utility of the Kavat while having all of the protection and the firepower of the Sentinel. So that's also a very good combo, and the only way to acquire that combo is with Khora herself. Now, as far as builds go, I have a very basic build. I have an Orcian Reactor and one Forma on her, and she still has like 11 capacities to spare, so it doesn't really take that. She's pretty decent when it comes to. She has some pretty decent slots already polarized. In this build, I have a lot of the. I'm mostly based on duration and as much range with a little bit of firepower. This is my basic balanced. This is my balanced loadout for her mods. It uses all the aspects of her power, like her Strangle Dome, as well as her whip, as well as the with a nice little balance of basically efficiency. Now in this whip, the Whiplash is essentially kind of like what Atlas's build used to be back when he was the One Punch Man builds. It's basically this, but with a whip instead. All into power and survivability. That's pretty much all I needed for this. And the last but not least is all about the Strangle Dome and pretty much it's all about the Strangle Dome. It's basically keeping people suspended in midair and having them dangle like little whatever dangles. And basically just pick them off. This is all about, having as much duration as possible and, just killing them, pretty much. So, here is the question. Is she a good Warframe? So, first off, what everybody says about her, not being able to do, basically being able to do what every other Warframe can do, just not as good, I would say is true. The reality is that it's true. Some of her abilities are kind of broken, like her Circun power it kind of seems broken. It's supposed to be able to, you snag one enemy, and an enemy who gets within proximity will get snagged and pulled towards the original enemy. That's kind of bugged. When you actually use it, it sometimes completely ignores enemies, even if they're right next to the target you're supposed to be snagging. Hopefully that's just a bug and it gets fixed very soon, because it would be nice to be able to pull enemies together. Even though that's pretty much what Nidus can do with his larva, he can just pull everything together, and that works very beautifully. And if you have the what's the name of the mod? The augment for Nidus, which will allow his larva to explode, is like you pull them all together and you blow them to pieces. So that's just an absolute beauty and severely satisfying in comparison. So yeah, obviously Nidus does that better. Her first power, the whip, definitely Atlas does it a little bit better. He has AoE, he can combo enemies, he beats the crap out of them, and on top of that, he's invulnerable when he does that. So yeah, he can just go up close and just kick the shit out of any enemy who gets in his path. With Khora, the only thing that she has at her advantage is that her whip has range, so it kind of allows you to stay in a distance to whip them. The only thing is that enemies are shooting at you. If enemies are shooting at you, then that distance is not really going to help you. And it doesn't really do anything else other than dealing damage. Now I did heard that it actually has a little bit of a glitch as well. Thankfully, it didn't glitch out for me when I was using it. It actually works okay. So I haven't seen any of that glitches. Hopefully that's that never happens, and I'll be okay. But yeah, if obviously if you want to go for that pure spam the first power kind of move, then obviously you would go for Atlas, because he does that. He also has invulnerability on top of that, and if you go with a nice little build for all of his new with his new rework, you have a lot more survivability than Khora does. And her last power, which is the Strangle Dome, is all about basically. I guess you can say it's all about crack controlling. It deals damage and it pulls enemies towards it. Now it's not like a frost bubble, that's for sure. Enemies can still shoot you even while you're inside the thing. The only thing that it does, which is good, is basically it basically ragdolls them and holds them in place, allowing you to basically shoot the shit out of them while they're just dangling there helpless. Now, Strangle Dome, surprisingly enough, does work, and it's so far one of her strongest abilities. It actually works very nicely, and it actually works very nicely specifically in very tight corridors where you can essentially assimilate every enemy together. They can all group up a group of enemies together, then drop in a Strangle Dome, and they're basically going to be helpless there as they take damage, and you can just leave it there. You can have up to 2 Strangle Domes at a time, so you can just place them in strategic locations where enemies are going to be pouring in large numbers, and just have them being killed by the Strangle Dome while you deal with other things. Or of course you can just whip in while they're there and deal damage to multiples of them and kill them. So I don't really recommend staying in the Strangle Dome to basically lure enemies in. I recommend luring them by making it so that the pathway that they lead to the pathway that leads towards you leads to the Strangle Dome, so they get captured immediately. That way, because enemies, they can still shoot at you even when you're in the Strangle Dome. So put the Strangle. It's a case where you put it down, then you leave it. You leave it in a place where enemies are going to be pouring in, and that's pretty much it. If you're in a pinch in an AOE, then yeah, you can also do that. I guess if you're doing a defense mission now against in a defense mission against infested, the Strangle Dome is very, very good, especially in a defense mode. So if you're doing an Orokin Derelict defense, this would be a very good ability to use, as long as you have a Trinity at higher levels, because once those energy leeches and parasitics start piling up, yeah. I mean, anybody would struggle with this, but especially struggles even more, because without her powers, she's very she's frail. The reality is that she's very frail, and her Kavats are not exactly capable of reviving her, so yeah. Now, when it comes to the Kavat itself, which is, I guess, the whole point of, acquiring Khora, you would acquire her not because she is, I guess, better at something specific. You will acquire her because she has a very unique feature. And that feature, like I said before, is the ability to have an inborn Kavat with you. Now, obviously, that will require a lot of farming. Now, I am happy to say that when you put an Orokin reactor on Khora herself, her Kavat Venari also automatically gains a reactor as well. That way you don't have to consume 2 reactors for the Kavat and the and Khora. You just need the one, and they both get the reactor. So that's a very good thing that I do like. The downside is that when you polarize Khora, obviously you will have to polarize Venari separately. So I recommend focusing on Khora, polarizing her. You don't necessarily have to polarize Venari, since they're both separate entities. You can focus your polarization on Khora, wait until she's fully maxed out and strong, and then start polarizing Venari. That way Venari has that little, has that decent, I guess, level to help you out or something. And basically you would have to polarize her. So it does take a little bit of an extra, I guess, polarization. This, of course, the amount of times you will have to polarize depends on what kind of builds you're using and what kind of mods you're using. Obviously, I went with some mods that allowed me to they gave me what I needed them for the current builds and my current playstyle, and I'm really happy with that. And the only thing that I really need to do is give her an Excellence adapter, which I don't really do for regular Warframes, because eventually they will have Prime versions, and obviously they're the strongest, the pinnacle of that Warframe. So obviously I want to focus all my attention and polarizing my strongest lens, like my Eidolon lens, and my strongest stuff, basically, and Excellence adapters and all that kind of stuff on them specifically. But I guess it's gonna take a while before any of that happens. So I guess since Khora is relatively new, I guess by the time that kind of reaches there, if you're still playing, then you probably will already have replaced everything that you need to basically forward make her, you know, stronger when she's there, whatever. So yeah. So her Strangledome is kind of the only thing that kind of stands out. Now, having the Kavat, like I said, is also a very nice little thing, a little nice feature. Having a Sentinel with you is also very, very handy. Having the ability to, like, specifically Taxon, I have noticed that Taxon works very nicely in this situation because he has the ability to, well, first off, his Artax will slow enemies down with his beam, which is very decently. On top of that, he will also give you overshields as well, replenishing shield if you have the mod to replenish shields, like Shield Charger, I believe it's called, and Guardian, I believe it's called. So he will replenish your shields when necessary, and on top of that, if you also have Mediray, that accelerates healing, which is good, and that can also, I guess that would also be very helpful with Vanari's healing ability, since she can, like, give you regen, very similar to how Oberon's power works, except very, very slowly and kind of temperamental. I have noticed that when I'm alone, when I'm playing solos, my regen, the regen never really kicks in. It never actually kicks in. It never actually heals me, like, ever. I don't know if that was just me, and that was just a bug that I encountered, or if it's different. Let me know if you actually had this problem, if you were playing solo on higher leveled enemies and you were like very low health and you switched to Vanari's healing and she wasn't healing you. Like, obviously you have to wait for a few seconds, I guess. I don't know why that is the case. It sucks, but what to do? But within at least, I would say within at least 5 seconds, I would assume that she would start healing you. I mean, when I'm with other people, that seems to be effective and it does work, and I do get healed and it's nice. But when I was playing in solo, that doesn't seem to work at all. I'm hoping that's just a bug that I encountered. But let me know if you actually encountered that bug. I would consider it a bug because it makes no sense to have that kind of feature, obviously. Like, what's going on? If I'm alone, then my pet will not be healing? Will that mean that one of my abilities is kind of useless completely when I'm alone? What's the point with that? I have noticed that when it comes to soloing, Khora doesn't have very much survivability. And like I said, since her healing seems to be broken, and her protection doesn't really do that much difference, like, I don't know. I would have liked it a lot better if she could, if Vanari was able to use Reflect to basically like reflect damage and reduce incoming damage and reflect it towards enemies. That would have been a lot better. Then again, I guess you could have another Kavat for doing that, and I guess having like 2 of them doing that at the same time would be, I don't know, maybe OP? I don't know. It would be nice though. It would be fun. It would be awesome to be able to actually, you know, have Reflect activated almost at all times. That would be nice. Yeah, that basically, so as far as I can tell, her Vanari's attack formation or attack mode is really the only thing that actually does work. She does attack, and she will always focus on enemies that you have ensnared with your second power, so I guess that's kind of okay. It would be nice if the Kavats as a whole were a little bit more active. Like, when it comes to Sentinels, they're always attacking. I guess that's because they're ranged. They will always actually attack. They're always on the attack as soon as enemies are within their proximity, but it would be nice if the Kavats, and generally the pets, were a bit more active when it comes to attacking. I mean, if you don't want them to, like, steal your kills, then why bring them in the first place, you know? I mean, you could, like, you know, remove their attack or put something that will focus their attack on something else. It would be nice if you actually had a mod that allowed you to, like, allowed your pets to, like, focus on something specific. Like, if they're attacking anyways, any enemy, and suddenly there's like an Eximus enemy, that enemy will take prioritize. Like, that enemy will take priority. That would actually be very nice. That would be actually a very nice mod for any pet. That would actually be very useful. I guess there are some Kubros that can do that, but it would be nice to have a mod that allows us to put that kind of thing into like choose to have that into like any kind of pet that we choose to use. That would be nice, specifically a Kavat. Yeah. Now, as far as it is true what people say when it comes to Khora, her abilities pretty much other Warframes can do that already, even better. But then again, these Warframes have been here for a while. They've been rebalanced and changed over and over. So it's kind of like that's pretty much that's the same thing with every other Warframe. So, you know, I guess I'm hoping that along the line with newer updates and stuff, you know, she's not just left there for pasture. She's not just left there to be absolute. She will have some changes, and she'll become a little bit more, I don't know, fine-tuned, better for survivability, specifically for soloing, since that is an option in game. It's not just, you know, there to exist in some specific missions. You can choose to play solo, and if you're the kind of player who likes to solo, then it would be nice to have a Warframe that can. It would be nice if every single Warframe had a way to have some survivability. It would be nice. I mean, when it comes to like Ashe and Loki, obviously you just become invisible and that's the end of story. That's kind of like in solo missions that's kind of overkill. But it would be. I guess I guess every Warframe has its own features, and the only unique feature that I can see being worth it if you are into that kind of thing when it comes to Khora is the Kavat system. The fact that you have another Kavat. If you are a big fan of Kavats, then this frame you will definitely be playing around with this frame for a while. And the whipping is definitely satisfying. It's not Atlas effective, but it is satisfying to just go around and just whip everything in everything. And since you have that range on you, along with the AoE, it's I guess you can like whip them while on the go. So you can like bullet jump and whip them. You can like be jumping around and then whip them, and you have that range. So that kind of works nicely. And of course, that can be comboed with your other abilities, which is nice. So she's not a very unique Warframe when it comes to most of her abilities, and some of her abilities definitely need to be fixed. But what she does have works, and in the hands of a good player, she will definitely contribute to either the kill count or to aiding in crowd controlling enemies, which is what she's really primarily about. She's all about crowd controlling and I guess dealing damage. So she does that. She definitely does that. So if you want to try out Khora for yourselves, then go for it. Keep in mind that Sanctuary, the place where you can farm her, is also a very good place for leveling up, for acquiring focus, and also for leveling up one weapon at least to a very decent, since you'll be killing a lot of things. So yeah, if you happen to get her, build her, and you'll I guess you'll experience her yourself as you go around. So yeah, I just wanted to share my perspective on Khora and some things about Khora. Just in case people are curious. More people are curious. I don't know why. I mean, she's been out for a while, and I'm late to that. But I just wanted to, build her up and do all the things that need to be done, all with the events and stuff, before I actually gave my review of her and see, how she does. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you found this useful. I mean, as long as you farm Khora, then you should definitely give her a go. If you're planning on buying her, then I would wait a little bit. Wait until some of her abilities maybe get tweaked or fixed before doing so. Yeah, I guess you can always see other people when they are using Khora, like how well do they do. Of course, this depends on how good of a player they are, and how well they have modded her. So yeah, that's also a thing. So anyways, thanks for watching. Stay cool, and I guess I'll see you later. Bye bye.